Happy Halloween! Or depending on when you're watching this, Happy Halloween! Now, of course, if you're not watching this on the 31st of October, I'm assuming that the impact will be somewhat dulled, but I do very much like doing a Halloween-themed video every year on the channel, and I thought it would be very fun this year to take a look at the top 5 Halloween ghost decks right now. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to look at the best ghost decks that you can go and play right now. Previous years, I've done my favourite ghost Pokemon, I've done the best Gengar cards, I'll try and link some of the more Halloween-y ones in the description. But today, we are focused on ghost Pokemon, and actually, there are a couple of really top-tier decks which are very focused around ghost Pokemon. But let's do a top 5 list, and let's start off at number 5 with Mimikyu and Gengar and OMASTAR. Now, of course, Mimikyu and Gengar are a lovely pair of ghost Pokemon, and what we see here is a GX, which for 2 energy allows you to do 50 damage for every trainer card in your opponent's hand, and it is trainer card, not item card or any of that. Every type of trainer, supporters, stadiums, the works. And that can be pretty gosh darn good, but your opponent can just get rid of the trainers from their hand. Now, for 1 Psychic Energy, you do have a GX attack that stops your opponent playing any cards from their hand during their next turn. And if you add a 2nd Psychic Energy, then both players draw till they've got 7 cards in their hand. But remember that your opponent won't be able to play any of their cards, then they'll draw 1 for their turn, so your opponent's going to end up with 8 cards in hand, hopefully a few of them trainers, and you are going to smash. But you don't really want to rely on this, so what we do is we play it with OMASTAR. Now, OMASTAR's got a rather wonderful ability, whereby if you have fewer Pokemon in play than your opponent, they cannot play any item cards from their hand. They can still play stadium, supporters, all of that, but they cannot play any item cards. Which means that the item cards build up in their hand, which means that Gengar and Mimikyu will do a lot more damage. And as a side note, it does evolve from Unidentified Fossil, which means you're not going to end up with a whole bunch of basic Pokemon on the bench, because Unidentified Fossil, not a Pokemon. It's a very fun deck. It's seen limited success, but it's all based around ghost Pokemon, and when it works, it is incredibly scary, because Gengar and Mimikyu will just be getting big one-hit KOs turn after turn after turn until you lose the game. Whoopsie doodle. In at number 4, my personal favourite deck on the list, Chandelure. I love me some Chandelure, ladies and gentlemen. Chandelure, now we are talking the one that came around in Unified Minds, and the Chandelure from Unified Minds has a lovely attack for 1 fire energy that does 10 damage, then you discard the top 5 cards of your deck, you do 60 more for each Pokemon discarded in this way, and any fire Pokemon you discarded, you put straight onto your bench. Now, the problem with the Chandelure deck is that you basically play like 4 Litwick and maybe a Ditto Prism Star or maybe the odd other basic, but you're not playing very many basics. So you'll often only have 1 basic out, and your opponent can easily just KO it and you lose the game. It can be hard to get this deck rolling. Now, when the deck is rolling, you are absolutely laughing, because you're just getting stage 2s out cheatingly. The first Chandelure is a pain, but the second Chandelure should be got into play using the first. And then you can just go a bit silly. You can get the Charizard from Team Up, which is a very nice attacker, and you can just grab it out using this attack, and you don't have to do any of that evolving stuff. You can grab Magcargo to search cards and put them on top of your deck, give yourself a bit of extra consistency. You can get Ninetales to get some extra gusting. You can go and grab yourself a Delphox to set all of your opponent's Pokemon on fire, and if you really want to take the mick, you could also go and grab yourself an Infernape, so that fire does 6 damage counters between turns, rather than the usual 2. It really is an awful lot of fun. You can grab my boy Incineroar to go ahead and do an extra 30 damage. It is a phenomenal card when it's going. And it is the giant caveat that ruins this deck. Jimmy Voigt did go and play it at the World Championships to a respectable finish, and it's been played here and there and seen some mild success, but there are way too many games where you go first, pass with one basic, your opponent knocks it out. Or your opponent has a turn, you pass with one basic, your opponent knocks it out. But when it works, I love me some Chandelure. In at number 3, Spiritomb based decks. Spiritomb is a phenomenal card that came out in Unbroken Bonds and is one of those which has been at the centre of a few different decks. So Spiritomb has the ability Building Spite. Once during your turn, you may put 1 damage counter on this Pokemon, which sounds a little bit rubbish. But for 1 Darkness Energy, you can use Anguish Cry, 10 damage, plus 30 more for each damage on this Pokemon. So in theory, if you can get 5 damage counters on, you're actually doing 160 damage. It's rather wonderful. Now you can use Rainbow Energy to cheat 1 of the damage on, but the rest of them you either have to hope your opponent attacks but doesn't KO, no, or just use a ability to just get a bunch of damage on and then hit for decent damage. Now, we've seen this played with a few things. The most common partner for it, and at least the one which is probably the most obvious, is Stunfisk. Now, Stunfisk again came around in Unbroken Bonds, and what we have is a lovely attack for 2 colourless energy. This attack does 30 damage for each of your Pokemon that has any damage counters on. So in theory, if you've got 5 bench Pokemon all with damage on, you do 150. If Stunfisk itself also has damage on, then all of a sudden you're doing 180, and for 2 energy on a non-GX Pokemon, that's pretty phenomenal. Now, the fact that we don't have double colourless energy anymore really does hurt it, and we've got Tapu Koko Prism Star, and we've got Counter Gain, and there are things we can do, but we also don't have Counter Energy, and that really hurts Stunfisk. We have Triple Acceleration Energy, but that only works for Evolution Pokemon, and unfortunately Stunfisk doesn't count. But if you can get the energy on there well enough, then Spiritomb becomes not just a great attacker in its own right, but it also fuels Stunfisk, so you can be attacking with Stunfisk while you build up damage on your Spiritomb, and then you can bring in your Spiritomb to go and smash. But we also saw this played very nicely recently with Gengar. Now, this was the new Gengar that also came out in Unbroken Bonds, and it's got the ability Shadow Pain. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may put 6 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon GX and EX in any way that you like. And what you essentially do is use this to bring all of your opponent's Pokemon down into range of Spiritomb. Although it also works phenomenally with Yveltal GX. Yveltal GX, if the defending Pokemon has exactly 4 damage counters on, instant 1-hit KO. And of course with Gengar, you can just drop 4 damage counters on the Pokemon you want, and then the rest elsewhere. Also really nice with Tapu Lele that rearranges the damage on your opponent's side of the field. It is an awful lot of fun, but they've not proven to be top tier decks just yet. But the top 2 decks on this list have legitimately proven to be top tier decks. In at number 2, Malamar with Giratina. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That Giratina from Lost Thunder. Giratina is very much a ghost Pokemon, so it's one that can pop on this list, and Giratina's been proven to be one of the best Pokemon that we have. The ability Distortion Door, if it's in the discard pile, you may whack it on your bench, and then put 1 damage counter on each of 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Start spreading some damage around. But you've then got Shadow Impact, 3 Psychic Energy, 130 damage, put 4 damage counters on one of your Pokemon. Now, it's not the end of the world. Drop it on one of your Malamar, or drop it on your Giratina if you think it's going to get KO'd, etc. Malamar here is extremely important to Giratina, because you need to get the free Psychic Energy on, so it is rather important that you have Malamar to accelerate that Psychic Energy, or else you will be struggling to attack. And this can be played in different ways. Some people just play it as a spreading deck on its own, in which case do consider Spell Tag, another very relevant card at the moment. And what Spell Tag does is you attach it to a psychic Pokemon, and when they're KO'd by damage from an opponent's attack, you place 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon wherever you like. And with Field Blower having rotated, that's a really good thing at the moment, because your opponent is just, well, trying to get rid of it is extremely difficult. You can chuck in some bigger, badder Pokemon if you like. I mean, Gengar and Mimikyu actually fits very nicely in here. Used to be played with Ultra Necrozma, though that does seem to be falling a little bit out of favour at this stage. There's a lot of options, but Giratina Malamar Spread has proven to be a phenomenal deck. But in at number 1, we're talking Blacephalon. Blacephalon has proven itself to be the best ghost Pokemon we have. And we can sit there and go, well, hang on a second. Really, we're talking secondary type here? Well, yeah, but it still totally counts. And the fact of the matter is, Blacephalon is amazing. Now, the main Blacephalon we mention here is the GX with the amazing Mind Blown attack. 2 fire energy, and you can Lost Zone as many fire energy attached to all your Pokemon as you like, and then do 50 damage for each one you popped in the Lost Zone, allowing you to basically one-hit KO anything. And in terms of getting the energy on, we're golden. We got Naganadel that's got an ability that attaches a basic energy from the discard to itself. Obviously, you go fire. If your opponent has 3 or 4 prizes remaining, you can use Beast Ring to search your deck for 2 basic energy and attach them to one of your Ultra Beasts, like Blacephalon or Naganadel. And being a fire Pokemon, you've also got Welder here that you can use to attach 2 fire energy from your hand and then go and draw 3 cards. It's a pretty phenomenal deck. Then you remember it's an Ultra Beast, so as well as Beast Ring, you've got Beast Energy to do a little bit of extra damage, and Ultra Space to go and search it out. And what we have here is one of the very best decks in the entire format. Blacephalon is phenomenal. Now, we do also need to mention the non-GX Blacephalon here. The main attack we're looking at, 3 fire energy, discard as many fire energy from your hand as you like, and you do 50 damage for each card that you discarded in this way. Now, I've never been a huge fan of this because having to have 3 energy on there and then a whole bunch of energy in your hand seemed like it wasn't going to work. But this deck has actually started doing really well with Pidgeotto. I did a video about it the other day, I'll pop a link in the description, and it's actually proving that it can stick around. I'm still not 100% buying it, but it looks at this stage like I might be a little bit wrong. Either way, very, very good deck, and even if it's not top tier, Blacephalon GX definitely is. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's Halloween, and if you're in the mood to go and play a spooky, ghost-themed Pokemon deck, hopefully now you know which are the best ones to go and play. But I'd like to hear from you at this stage. Are there other ghost decks around at the moment that you really like? Have you played any of these decks? What is your favourite? Go nuts in the comment section. But be nice, would you? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.